Have you ever gone silent on a woman, hoping she'd miss you? Hoping she'd feel your absence and only to realize she doesn't seem to care. You stop texting. You disappear. You post nothing. And yet she's living her life, laughing in photos, maybe even talking to someone else. And there you are wondering, why isn't my silence affecting her? It's one of the most painful realizations a man can face, because deep down, you believed that your absence would create a storm in her mind. You thought she'd finally realize your worth, maybe even chase you back. But instead she becomes colder, and you become the one obsessing over her next move. Today we're going to break that illusion, not to crush your hope, but to shift your power. Because silence can be powerful, but only when it comes from true Stoic detachment, not emotional revenge. Let's dive deep into the psychology behind why your silence isn't affecting her, and how to transform that silence into something that regains your control and rewrites the dynamic forever. 1. The false silence. When you're quiet, but still chained. Most men go silent not from strength, but from strategy. You stop talking to her, but you're still watching her stories. You still check if she's online. You still replay old messages in your head, wondering what went wrong. That's not silence, and that's emotional noise. And she can sense it. Women are deeply intuitive. They may not always understand logic, but they can feel energy. When your silence comes from pain, resentment, or fear, it doesn't pull her closer. It reassures her that you still care. She thinks, he's probably waiting for me to notice. And that alone gives her the upper hand. True. Stoic silence isn't about disappearing. It's about disconnecting internally. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When your silence comes from peace, when you genuinely no longer crave her validation, that's when it starts to echo, because it's no longer a performance. It's self-mastery. 2. She's not affected because she already felt the loss before you left. Here's something most men never realize: your silence doesn't shock her because she emotionally detached long before you physically disappeared. When a woman distances herself, she's already processed her feelings in silence. She mourned you while you were still together, so by the time you go quiet, she's already made peace with your absence. It's like trying to punish someone for a crime they've already served the sentence for. This is why the no contact rule often fails, because you're starting the silence when she's already finished it. While you're missing her, she's rediscovering her freedom. While you're counting days, she's counting options. But here's where you regain the upper hand. Once she realizes your silence isn't manipulation, but a rebirth, that you're genuinely evolving, genuinely glowing without her curiosity returns. Because nothing haunts a woman more than a man who truly moves on without bitterness. That's when silence stops being empty and becomes magnetic. So is the power reversal, when you stop waiting for her reaction. Here's the truth. Silence is not about what it does to her. It's about what it builds in you. Every time you check your phone, hoping she'll reach out, you lose power. Every time you post something to make her jealous, you lose power. Every time you try to win by waiting, you lose power. Because you're still reacting. The Stoic way teaches us this. You do not measure your control by how others respond. You measure it by how deeply you remain unshaken by their lack of response. When your silence becomes indifferent, when it no longer carries the scent of hope, the balance shifts. Because the moment she feels you've stopped waiting, her ego starts to itch. She begins to wonder, why isn't he chasing me anymore? And that curiosity is more powerful than any message you could send. Power isn't loud. It's not the scream of revenge. Power is the quiet absence of need. That's the energy that makes women rethink everything. Or the female psychology behind unmoved silence. Let's decode this deeper. Because understanding her psychology is key to regaining control. Women are emotional communicators. They thrive on energy exchange, texts, attention, validation, emotional connection. So when you suddenly go silent, her first instinct is to test your intent. If your silence feels forced or fragile, she senses weakness. But if your silence feels stable, calm, complete, and self-assured, it triggers uncertainty. This is what psychologists call the emotional dissonance effect. When your behavior contradicts her expectations, it creates tension in her mind. She expects you to reach out. You don't. She expects you to be sad. You seem fine. That's when silence begins to echo. But if you fake that peace, if your energy still screams attachment, She won't feel that tension. She'll feel relief. Women only feel the power of your absence when your silence is rooted in true freedom, not pretense. And that's why Stoicism matters, because it teaches you to be the calm, not perform it. 5. The mirror effect. When your silence reflects her true value. Your silence is not a weapon. It's a mirror. It doesn't make her feel something new. It reveals what was already there. If she valued you, she'll feel your absence. If she never did, your silence will expose that truth. And yes, that truth hurts, but it's also your liberation. The Stoics believe that pain becomes wisdom when you stop resisting it. Instead of asking, "Why isn't she missing me?" ask, "Why did I need her to?" Every time you expect your silence to teach her a lesson, you give her emotional control. But when you use that silence to learn your own lesson, to reflect, to rebuild, to regain, you become untouchable. Because the most attractive thing a man can show isn't silence, it's growth. A woman might ignore your texts, but she cannot ignore your transformation. 6. The Stoic strategy, from reaction to regulation. Stoicism isn't about not feeling emotions, and it's about mastering them. When a woman doesn't react to your silence, you face two choices. You either break your silence and lose power, or you regulate your emotions and gain control. Most men choose the first. They send that one last message, "I guess you don't care anymore." And in that moment, all the power collapses. But the Stoic man chooses the second. He feels the urge to but doesn't obey it. He sits with the discomfort, observes it, understands it. He tells himself, "Her reaction doesn't define my worth. My reaction defines my strength." And slowly, the emotional storm starts to fade. You begin to feel something rare, peace. That's when your silence stops being about her and starts being about you. And paradoxically, that's when it starts to affect her the most. Because now she feels the energetic gap on not your need but your independence. That's the silence that speaks louder than words. 7. The comeback energy, when she finally notices. Here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need her to notice your silence is when she finally does. It might take weeks or months, but eventually, something will shift. She'll remember a moment, a conversation, a look you gave her, and she'll wonder why your energy feels so distant now. Maybe she'll text you casually. Maybe she'll like an old photo. Maybe she'll even test the waters again. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't respond to validate her curiosity. You respond only if it aligns with your peace. Because once you've truly regained control, you realize the goal was never to make her miss you. The goal was to remember who you were before you forgot yourself trying to please her. That's the essence of Stoicism in relationships. To remain unmoved by external chaos and guided by inner harmony. When you reach that level, silence no longer feels like punishment. It feels like freedom. 8. Regaining power, the Stoic way. Power isn't taken, it's reclaimed. You don't win it back by playing games or going cold. You win it by mastering yourself. Ask, what did I let disturb my peace? Why did I crave her validation? Because the truth is, most men lose power chasing attention. Real control is quiet. It's when your happiness no longer depends on her response. As Marcus Aurelius said, a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. When your ambition becomes self-mastery, everything changes. She feels it. The calm, the strength, the independence. You're no longer chasing, she is. And with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.